appointed hour is here, and we're going to go ahead and begin the festivities. My name's Joe LeClaire, and I have the honor as president of the Historical Society of presiding over this Distinguished Citizen Award presentation this evening. And it's remarkable to see this many people here, and I sure hope those words weren't important. I doubt it. Yes, they were, somewhat. Okay. At any rate, the first thing I'd like to do is introduce the officers and the board members. So if you all kind of raise your hand when you're here, I think the ones that are present are up front. Our vice presidents, Donna Malone, secretary Julie Dixon, treasurer Kim Hawkins. Barb Lautner is on the board. She's also our archivist. Kim Hawkins, Chris Kehl, Meredith Oberhausen, and Judy Howe, also an archivist. These are the guys that really do all the work. They just make me stand up and talk. At any rate, welcome to the 50th anniversary of the first presentation of the Distinguished Citizen Award in 1971. And this is also the 50th presentation. The Society did not specifically name a recipient last year. My own personal opinion is that Tell City had a lot of distinguished citizens last year, and I don't need to tell you who they were because you know who they were. They were the guys that bagged up your groceries. They checked you out at the grocery store. They pumped your gas. They were manned the gas stations, the pharmacies, your healthcare providers, your policemen, the teachers, and on and on and on, the service industry, the firemen, all those people who took care of you, all those people when you wanted to go somewhere for a service, they were there at their own peril during the COVID. And so Tell City's fortunate to have had all those distinguished citizens. What I'd like to do now is and I don't want to take away from the current recipients' evening, but I think we should just quickly go over the list, the formidable list of folks who have served this community. I'm going to read them off in decades. And if you're here or if you're here representing someone, please stand or raise your hand. We'll start with the 70s. As I said, in 1971, Miss Frida Marty was the recipient, followed by Roy Finn, Edgar Shergans, Dixie Davis, Theodore Hickerson, Victor Weisenberger, Clyde Walters, Chick Borders, Earl Bettinger, and that rounds out the 70s. Starting in 1980, Dr. Noel Neifert, Arnold Malzer, Charles Schreiber Sr., Clarence Schultz, Jerry Steftenagel, Dorothy Kessner, yay Dorothy, Frank Clemens, Tony Papano, Hugh Thrasher, Otto Aldrich Jr., and that's the 80s. In the 1990s, we recognized Imogene Snyder, Jim and Marianne Hollenden, Doc and Effie Hifferson, Paul Ziegelgruber, Ruth and Owen Hinton, Mary Ruth Heck, Goldie Simpson, Amos and Jeanette Rippey, Michael Rutherford, and Dr. Fred Smith. So that'll be the 90s. Entering the new millennium, we began with Dr. Jean Ress, Lynn and Grace Catahenry, Ruth Ann Werner, Louis Highkemper, Betty Gunn, Gail Strazel, Carl and Jeannie Champion, Pat Crawford, the Reverend Lee Brown, and Jim Whitmer. More recently, we've recognized in 2010, Mayor Chris Kehl, Rebecca Finn, Tony Hollenden, Mayor Bill Goffman, Joan Hess, Al Honstein, Janet Damman, Bill and Jeannie Whitmer, Gene Borders, and Jane and Steve Upmeyer. That's a remarkable list of folks who have selflessly given to our community. Now, each year, little old me as president gets to appoint a secret committee. And I handed them rather a stack of nominations this year, so I'm glad I wasn't in on any of that selection because I know they had a tough time and they had a number of choices. And what they dealt with was we were looking for an individual who has accepted Tell City as his or her community by birth or adoption and has benefited our community, has organized noteworthy activities either by employment, civic organizations, committees, volunteer service, and our government representation, has worked unselfishly for the betterment of others, all the while demonstrating an enthusiastic mental attitude. And he's shown dedication to the pride of our community by their actions. And the bottom line is, Tell City is a better place for these individuals having lived here. As most of you know, this year the award goes to Eric Kehl, and I think it's apparent that he's adopted Tell City as his home. And so I don't want to take away anything else. So at this time I'm going to turn the podium over to a former recipient, Tony Hollidan, a good friend of Eric, for a more formal and personal nomination and introduction.
Good evening, everyone. Happy Schweizer Fest. I said Happy Schweizer Fest. And aloha. It'll all make sense in a little bit. I'm the opening act, honestly. That's why I'm kind of goofing around. The main attraction is Mr. David Goffman, brother-in-law of Eric Kehl. Yeah, you are. I'm proud to be here. We appreciate everybody being here. Eric, fantastic job. You well deserve to be here. And I would like to publicly say, I'm really glad you're my friend. I'm saying that before I get started. So. Joe alluded to the fact that some of the members that are up here were born here, raised here, went away for college or school or something, then came back. Not Eric. Eric was born up in Akron, Ohio, to Wes and Rose Kehl. Rose, give a wave. Eric is one of 4 kids, 3 sisters. His oldest sister, and probably the best looking one of the bunch since she's here. Lisa and Roger drove 3 hours over to pick her up, to pick Mom up, and 3 hours down here. So that's the kind of family that Kehls are. The decision was made by the family in Akron to move to the Columbus, Indiana area, and that's where Eric got his start as a preteen, 11, 12, something like that. Worked on his faith, his education, and his ability to do hard work. If any of you haven't been in a car with Eric and accidentally drove by a Hardee's restaurant, just hit the pedal and get going, because there's 100 Hardee's stores. Anyway, so he's through high school. Things are going swell. Makes a decision he's going to go to college, Indiana University, just down the road. Along with that decision, he made the decision to also support and work with the Army ROTC program. So while going to school during the day, earlier in the day, he was doing jumping jacks and whatever Army guys do. Lean, mean, fighting machine, Eric Kehl. He's got it all. But he doesn't have it all. He doesn't have it all. Something's missing. There was this girl. She's beautiful. She's from Tell City. I said, damn right she's from Tell City. She's that good looking. I just can't seem to get it all worked out for her to go out with me. But he says, I offered her some breadsticks and that's what did it. Now, you and I know Amy, and it took probably more than that, and she probably had already made her mind up that she was going to go out with him, just using the breadsticks as gravy on them. School's over. Eric is done. Amy still has a year to go. He starts the Army gig, and all over America, different camps, whatever those guys do. They meet together a year later over at St. Paul's. Wedding. Eric, where are we going now? Where will we be sent? Think about it. How much farther can you get away from Tell City? They're stationed in Hawaii. So they're there for multiple years. Somewhere along the line, I'm going to go ahead and give Amy all the credit for this. The suggestion of where they would move to, two talented people, probably could have gone anywhere in the state of, or in America. I'm just going to go ahead and bet that Amy said, I think Tell City would be a great place for us to go to. How's that? Hey, we are all in debt to Amy. We wouldn't be here. Well, we'd be doing with somebody else, but we wouldn't be over there. Anyway, the decision was made to come back. It's the best decision they made, best decision for all of us that are friends and family. At this time, I've got the crowd warmed up. Dave Goffin's going to take over. Let's hear it for Dave.
Eric had the nerve to ask if I was going to come to this tonight. So Tony asked me to talk, so I guess I had to. So moving home with Amy, large family, very vocal, rather opinionated, was probably a bit intimidating for Eric. And to top it off, they decided to go ahead and move in with Mom and Dad for a while until things got settled. So Eric lands a job at Tell City National Bank coming out of the military. He certainly was well qualified, he was capable, but he wasn't particularly known around here. However, he was married to Bill and Dolores' daughter, so he got the job. Believe what you want, but I do say all this to say that Eric had to work hard to get out of the Goffinette shadow, and did he ever do that? Don't misunderstand me, Eric has and always will be a family man. His mom, dad, sisters, and brothers-in-law have all been influential in his life. He has embraced our family as his, just as we have embraced him as part of ours. But Eric has always been one to chart his own path. He's been influenced by many, but his friendship with Tony, Kip, Dr. D, or Donnie, and Martha, or Marty, helped him get grounded in Tell City and Perry County. Interestingly, 3 of that group are move-ins, and each is as important to our community as the other. I could go on and on with the list of initiatives, events, committees, and volunteer situations that Eric has participated in over the last 20-plus years in Perry County. But I'll narrow it down to his work with the Quality of Life Committee. Quality of Life Committee is a subcommittee of the Community Development Committee, which is a committee of the Perry County Development Corporation. And Eric is the chair or co-chair of both of those committees. The Quality of Life Committee has been instrumental in pushing initiatives and events that focus on celebrating our community spirit, Perry County, and the cities and towns within. 2 such events that have become a part of our Perry County fabric are the Farm to Table Dinner, which, by the way, is September 25th. If you don't have tickets, it's because they're not on sale yet, but they'll go on sale on the 25th of this month, so I'd encourage you to get those. And Sylvester Knot. I would venture a guess that neither of these events would have become a reality without Eric Kehl pushing them forward. Eric would never take credit, but rather would note that it takes a village to make these kinds of things happen. But ask those individuals that have worked alongside him, who was the glue that held things together until each came to fruition, and I'm thinking they would all say Eric. There were certainly doubters along the way, me included, especially when it came to Sylvester Knot. I just wasn't convinced that people would participate in a family-friendly event gathering in City Hall Park in the cold and sometimes less than stellar weather to play some games, stomp bubble wrap, and even get the school involved so kids could hang with kids before hanging with mom and dad to take in one heck of a neat firework display. But who am I to doubt Eric? He believed in it. He got others to believe in it. They planned it and made it happen, and somehow I can no longer imagine celebrating New Year's in any other way. So I find it quite fitting that at the end of this recognition tonight, Eric will be invited to light the Tell City apple, signifying the official start of Schweizer Fest, the most significant local festival our community has. The wild idea of others like Eric only decades ago who loved their community so much that they felt compelled to plan a local celebration of our Swiss heritage and look at what it means for our community today. I suspect some are represented here on this stage tonight. And how fitting is it that Eric light that apple? A wild idea of his to have an apple drop during a New Year's Eve celebration in downtown Tell City, which we now know as Sylvester. So my hat's off to my brother-in-law and dear friend. You deserve this honor more than, sorry, I'm a bit emotional. You deserve this honor more than you will ever know. So we'll meet you at the apple drop on New Year's Eve.
Wow, that was a surprise, Dave. I thought I was stuck with Tony. Well, thank you all. Thank you, David. Thank you, Tony. Two of my very best friends who I couldn't think of better people to introduce me tonight. Dr. LeClaire, thank you, and the Tell City Historical Society for selecting me as your 2021 recipient. I look around here on stage for people who have been honored before, and I'm honored and humbled to be on the same stage as these individuals. There's four people in particular I'd like to point out that had direct influence on my life that Dr. LeClaire mentioned tonight. 1991, Jim and Mary Ann Hollenden. I don't think Goldie's here, but Tony is. Jim Hollenden is passed, but he was one of the very first guys that I got to meet on Main Street. You know, I was as Tony mentioned, I was a very young 26-year-old banker from a not Tell City, and he showed me the ways of business, who to talk to, who not to talk to, and who was good and who was bad. So I really do, and of course I go on and on about Jim, but I'll go on to the other ones. 2003, Louis Highcamper. I don't know if Marcy Liz or Mark is here, but Louis Highcamper has a special place in my heart. He was one of my very first visitors that took Amy and I out to dinner in Honolulu, Hawaii. I came home from work and Amy said, we're going downtown. Now, we didn't ever go downtown because it's too expensive. But she said, no, we're not paying. And I said, okay, where are we going? So that's my first impression of Tell City, outside of my in-laws. But Louis was my first visitor, and he showed us a great time at a great restaurant in downtown Honolulu. I come back to Tell City 4 years later, and one of the first people that introduced himself to me was Louis Highcamper, and invited me to join Kiwanis. And as we all know Louis, he was a big Kiwanian, and I've been a Kiwanian for 20 plus years. 2012, Tony Hollenden, he probably doesn't remember, that was the year, but Tony was the recipient of this same award that I'm getting tonight. Tony is a very good friend of mine. I'm forever grateful of our friendship. We've pretty much done everything together. He's been my very first and still is a very loyal running partner. He's been involved just as much, if not more, to get me involved in the community. So I owe him a ton of thanks for getting me involved. And I'd be remiss not to leave Rhonda out. There you are, Rhonda. She's been there just as much, if not more, than Tony. We all know we like Rhonda better. And then I also could not forget their 5 boys, who I've become very close with: Greg, Tom, Chris, Andy, and I don't know if Joe's here or not, but I've gotten very close to the boys, their spouses, and now their kids. So thank you, Holland and family. And last distinguished guest I'd like to recognize tonight is the 2013 recipient, my father-in-law, Bill Goffnett. I think everybody knows my father-in-law, former Tell City Mayor. He was very instrumental in getting me passionate to making this community better. When I first moved back to Tell City, whether he liked it or not, Dolores seemed to like it, but I don't know if Bill did, but we did move in with them. And we had a lot of dinner conversations. He says, Eric, you've got to get involved. You've got to get involved. You've got to get to know people. That's the only way you're going to get acclimated to this community. So, Bill, thank you for your passion and your former work as mayor. Just a few days ago, Hunter Trinkle, one of the reporters of the Perry County News, came into my office and asked me about what this award meant to me. And I thought about it just for a few seconds, and I said, well, I love Tell City. I want to keep everything we have going on in Tell City. He said, well, can you be more specific? And I said, well, look out my window. My window is right there at German American Bank. I said, look at the tents going up. And I said, I love seeing John Shear. I love seeing Zach Hartz. I love seeing Larry Peter, Tim Connor, the late Gene Borders, everybody out there with their red shirts on, setting up these tents. I love seeing the vendors. I love the food, the live music, you know, the traditions, the class reunions. Even though I don't have a class reunion here, I go to my wife's. I have more fun at her class reunions than I have at my own. And it's because all the reunions revolve around this Schweizer Fest. Everybody comes back home to have a good time. I also got to put a plug into the road race. I love the road race. I love the local golf tournament. And then my near and dear to my heart, as of the last time, was the annual pie eating contest. Now, I don't know if you know this or not, but I am the only champion of the pie eating contest until about another 30 more minutes. But what else does this honor mean to me? I love running. I love, not by myself, but with my friends. I see several out here in the audience. Arrow and Sophie and Tony, and I'm sure Laura's here somewhere. There's a lot of friends. We make a lot of friends. Even Michael Kern's here, a fellow runner that I've run in races with before. Thank you for coming. I love our strong schools. I'm a little biased because my wife's a teacher, but I can attest that my 3 kids went to school at Telsey High School. One's graduated from IU, and the 2 are still in school. Very strong schools, very college-oriented. I had utmost confidence in our kids coming out of Telsey High School. I also love Perry County Hospital. I've had 2 incidences, one life-threatening, one not too long ago, and if it wasn't for our local hospital, I would not be here today. I got to give the full credit to our doctors and nurses who are out there every single day making us healthy and doing the right thing to make us better. Thank you. And the last thing I think about this award is the strong family ties and traditions. David obviously mentioned it. The Goffnett family is very close. We have a lot of traditions. We have a lot of discussion. We learn a lot about each other, but also we all seem to be very close-knit. We have a lot of friends. I've been blessed, Tell City, to have a lot of friends. I don't necessarily care about what I have or do in life, but I want to have friends to share those memories with. So that's what mostly this award means for me, is having family and friends. I'll end this speech tonight with a couple special thanks and then a challenge. The first special thanks I'd like to point out is my employer, German American Bank, and a lot of my co-workers are here tonight. My employer and the co-workers love this community. We give our time, valuable time, during the business day and after hours. So I'd like to thank German American Bank and my co-workers who give as much as I do and love this community just as much as I do. Next, I'd like to, I'm probably going to embarrass my mom here, but I'd like to, special thanks to my mother and my sister Lisa and her husband Roger. As Tony mentioned, they drove a long way to get here, and they're actually going back home tonight. So it means a lot to me that you three are here today. I wish Dad was here to see me. He'd be ecstatic. But Mom, I appreciate your kind heart, your perseverance, your laughter, and the love for playing games. Even though I can't beat you at Scrabble or Racco. But you are a true inspiration by me and many others are truly loved. Bill and Dolores, you've been a second set of parents for me. You've been so kind and welcoming and caring for me from the very beginning. You've always been there for Amy and I and our kids for the last 27 years. You two are irreplaceable and will always be cherished. Thank you for being leaders in our community and always making a family your priority in your life. That means a lot. And last, I'd like to thank Amy and our three children, Elizabeth, Valerie, and my son Philip, who couldn't be here tonight. But we've always been a good team. You've always helped out. You've always helped us just as much as I have. I might be the one up here on the stage, but you guys help out with the chicken feeds, delivering Christmas baskets for the Kiwanis, washing cars for the band, opening up the high school for Sylvester Knock, and making sure hundreds of other people can enjoy that night just as well. We fundraise together, and so thank you for being good teammates and always putting the community above ourselves as well, so thank you. And I'll end by issuing out a challenge that we've got to keep Tell City moving forward. The city and its citizens are so easy to fall in love with. We must keep making the city better and better through our own hard work, newer ideas, volunteering, get more involved, making new friends, seeking leadership positions, being creative, being positive, and most of all, have fun while doing it. Thank you.
I can't imagine a more truly inspirational speech than what our current recipient has just made. It says it all about Tell City and about what this award is. So at this time, Eric, it gives me great pleasure to give you the Tell City Historical Society Distinguished Citizen Award, Schweizer Fest 2021. Congratulations. For those of you who would like to congratulate Eric, we're having a small get-together up under the red and striped white tent over there on Mozart. Because of COVID, we're not going to be going up to the museum tonight. But otherwise, I think our recipient and the mayor have one more task to perform.
Finally get to light it, Eric. All these years.
And we're going to light the ball, and then that'll conclude the ceremony. Thank you, folks.